Hello, and I am obviously back in my hotel room. I just finished having dinner, and I'm like gonna explode. I'm so full. But I went to Nangman Pocha, the famous street here in Yeosu. It's in a ton of varieties and everything, and actually the guy who's the operational director of this whole joint, his name's Julius actually. He suggested it as well, and when I went, he actually suggested that I get the Yeosu seafood samha, and that's the translation because I don't actually remember what the name is. But it is this mixture of pork, abalone, octopus, prawns, and calamari. Not calamari, I'm sorry, scallops. And it's all put in this kind of spicy soup, and they boil it right in front of you and cook it right in front of you. And I was able to kind of get in at this random restaurant. Now, that should be a note that I actually went to a restaurant. Nangman Pocha is a series of little huts or little tents that have popped up underneath the bridge, which is really nicely lit up at night, mind you. Not to get too non sequitur here, but the bridge is really lit up, and the cable car that I'm gonna try to ride tomorrow, I think, is also lit up at night. It's really pretty. The whole area is gorgeous. There's a lighthouse and everything that's also lit up. But the whole point of the area is to go to that pop-up tent type deal, and you go eat over there, and you get one of really two things. The two famous things that you're supposed to get there are the samhap that I got, or the raw prawn sashimi. Now, I would have loved to have both, but the thing is that there was no way I was going to be able to eat all that food, and the samhap was already going to be a lot of food, and Julius actually mentioned that to me when he was telling me, you should go try this, but it is a lot of food. It's also really meant to be drank, like eaten with beer or soju, which I wasn't going to do any drinking tonight because I was definitely driving back, and the getting to the hotel back here to the Airbnb was already crazy enough. He was actually even kind enough to be like, well, I could order you a cab. And I was like, the problem isn't the cab getting me there, it's the cab getting me back. Where do I say to go? Like, I have no idea. And Nav doesn't even have it in the thing. I would have to give the guy the address in Korean, and that I don't have. So, anyhow, the whole idea, though, is that when I got there, and parking was nuts. Once I got there, it was slammed. And I don't think I actually have any footage of the parking. And I'll get to the reason why I'm filming this part inside the hotel room rather than in the restaurant. And so I get there, and the place is slammed. It's completely, nuts. Just people going in and out everywhere. There's a guy who actually drove his really nice Mercedes C-Class or E-Class over all these parking, I forget what you call those parking cement blocks. He gave no shits and just drove right over them, scratching up the bottom of his car. And that was right in front of me, and then another guy kind of got pushed out because he was behind, or the Mercedes was behind him, and he didn't want to get hit, and they were both going, and the Mercedes just kept honking at him. And so I kind of got lucky because then the legit spot that the guy had originally was open, and I took it. So now I got parking down, and then I started walking down the street, and this street, there's a strip that actually leads you to the Nangman Pocha. So there's the strip that leads up to Nangman Pocha, which is all those tents. And that's full of restaurants, coffee shops, all sorts of stuff. I saw pizza. There was a coffee shop that I tried going to, but there was this lady, this indecisive lady with a party of 20 or something like that. And she kept she had everyone else's order except for her own. And she kept going back and forth between two things and then canceling it and then going back to the other one. I was like, so no coffee tonight. Well, I'll make some instant coffee. But yeah, okay. So I actually get to the Nangman Pocha area. I go in, and I'm looking, and I go to every tent, and they're all serving the exact same things. The prices vary by about 1,000 won from tent to tent. They're the same. And if one is like 1,000 won cheaper, their beer is like 500 won more expensive. That type of deal. So like I said, the samhap is supposed to be this meal that you drink when you eat as well. And so the thing is that I started looking, and as soon as I found out that really it's just, a price difference of 1,000 won, I'm like, whatever, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to go and find wherever has an empty seat and sit down and eat. And I went to the first tent that had an empty seat, walked in. The lady there was like, hey, how many? And I'm like, I just want this dish, right? And Julius actually printed me a photo of the dish, which was kind of cool. And then I said, just for myself. And they'd be like, nope, sorry, got to move on. We're sold out. And I mean, it's they would all do this like X motion, like Anyo, like, no, and just move, right? And so I'm like, okay, weird. Went to the next tent that I was looking again, found an empty section, walked over, nope. It was a dude this time, and it happened about 5 times. And I was just like figuring, okay, it's because I'm just one person. And, I have no idea what it is, but I'm assuming that it is because I'm one person and I'm not going to be able to drink enough. Because even though this dish is a lot cheaper than at the restaurants, their alcohol is more expensive. And the whole idea is probably to offset the dish costs with alcohol. I am not going to drink at all because I'm driving. I mean, I had a 7-Up. And so, I went to all those tents and then just unsuccessfully was like, okay, I'm not eating this tonight, was what I thought. And then I was walking back to the car thinking, contemplating, well, there's a Lotte Mall right down the street from this hotel. They have to have some sort of restaurants in it. Or maybe there's like some sort of like Burger King or McDonald's nearby that I could go to. And, no fault to Julius, but I think tomorrow when I go talk to the front desk, I'll be like, hey, if you guys have a single person, don't recommend. I was recommended to go there, right? Don't recommend Nangman Pocha because they won't serve you. Like, I didn't eat at any of those stalls. And so as I'm walking back to the car, thinking about where I'm going to go eat, an older dude comes up and says, he's fishing, right, for customers. And he's just like, come, like, I'm like, sorry, I'm American. I don't speak Korean. Sorry about that. And he's like, come, like, you want food? I'm like, yes. And he's like, what do you want? And I point to the photo, and he's like, okay, it's this much won. Are you okay with that? And it was a large number. But I'm like hungry and I wanted to try it since I'm in the area. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. That's fine. You splurge every now and then. And I think this is one of those times where splurging is okay. And so he's like, all right, come on up. And as soon as he got me, he got like 3 other tables to come with me as well. Because I said, okay, let's do this. And like 3 other guys, not guys, 3 other like groups were just like, what? He's going to go get a table? Okay, yeah, let's follow him. And so we got up there and I got sat last because the other 3 were like groups, and I got sat at a table that was like filthy still. And the restaurant was slammed. You could actually see, I have B-roll of this. The restaurant was packed. That guy did not need to fish for customers. Like, he was doing fine. And so I went and sat down. And the first thing that happened was there was a guy who, the like server came by and he started clearing off the table. It was like packed jam full of stuff, tons of alcohol. Like, one interesting thing that I noted is that all the alcohol was not empty. There was multiple bottles of the same thing, but none of them were empty. So like, it's like if you said I drank like 5 bottles of soju, but you only drank a third of each bottle. Right? It was kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, maybe that's kind of how the culture is. Because it wasn't just my table that did that. I started looking at other tables. You know, you notice something, so you try to see if there's a pattern. Sure enough, all the other tables had tons of alcohol on the table, but none of the bottles were empty. They were all half to 2/3 full. So, and they would still be ordering more alcohol. Again, like I said, maybe that's how the businesses make their money, right? So the kid who's cleaning my table, he starts speaking to me in Korean. And I just pull up my photo and I just point to it. And I say, Hana, 1. And then he was asking me how many seats did I need. Because then he goes, Ne. And then he says something and he points to the chairs. And I'm like, Hana. And I just point to myself. And he's like, okay, you're eating by yourself type of thing. And I'm like, yep. And he's like, fine. And he comes back with a set and he puts stuff on the table. You know, and while he's kind of setting up, the old man that fished me in, he came and he wiped down the table real nice and clean so that like my food could come out. And I asked the old man for a Sprite, which you call cider here in Korea. And so I got a Sprite and the samhop. And then when the samhop came out, they started cooking it. Like it's a stove. It comes out all raw, except for the scallops. They're frozen. They come out. But it's still raw. They put it on the stove in front of you, turn on the stove, and walk away. And so I filmed it. They also gave some sides, some kimchi, some carrots, just like raw carrots, and then some other type of kimchi, the green like morning glory type kimchi. And I kind of didn't touch any of that because I knew this was going to be a lot of food. I had no idea what I was doing though. And so a server comes by and she actually starts looking at the table, starts pointing at stuff because I'm filming everything. And she starts saying something and I'm like, whoa, Migor? And she's like, what? So I don't think I'm saying English correctly. Let's put it that way. Then I say, I'm American. And she's like, oh. And she starts to like, she waits because I'm filming and I'm like, oh, go ahead. And then she's like, she starts moving things around. And I think she was concerned because I was kind of filming at that point the abalone. It was alive still. And it was like moving in the hot liquids because it was like boiling alive. She was concerned because the first thing she did was she flipped them upside down and put them at the very bottom of the pot. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why she was wondering. And then she kind of motioned me to sit down. So I sat down and, you know, I just watched her make the food. And she cooked the entire thing for me. And then she, you know, took out the scissors, started cutting up pieces, making them into bite-sized pieces. And then when things were kind of coming to an end there, she grabbed my plate, put a piece of pork on the plate, put a piece of octopus on top of the pork, put some of the mung bean that was in there on top of the pork, put some of the needle mushrooms, I think those were what they called, the enoki mushrooms on top. And then she kind of like wrapped it, and then she pointed at the sauce and said, like sauce, and pointed at the pork roll that she gave me. And then, and then I like scooped up the sauce and put it on. And she's like, ooh, small amount. I'm like, okay, must be spicy. So I put just a dab of it on. And then I picked up the meat and ate it. And it was amazing. Like, it's delicious. A pork roll with seafood in it. And then that's pretty much, she was like, you got it, right? And she kind of walked off and started working on other tables. And I was, at this time, I was just like experimenting with everything, putting the abalone on, you know, and adding the calamari. And then the only thing I will say is I took the prawns and I put them aside. Again, I'm not the biggest prawn fan, and these are prawns that were still in the shell, and they still had like the long arms and everything, you know. It's like, I don't really want to be bothered by that. But at the very end of the meal, I actually peeled them and ate them. And I was like kind of looking around waiting to see if any other table was going to eat the prawns. No one ate the prawns. So I didn't know if they were picking them and peeling them, or were they eating them whole. I had, it's one of those things where you're kind of looking at all the other tables to kind of realize how you're supposed to eat it. But in the end, I just ate it the way I would have in the States, in California. So I peeled it. I kind of cut a little to get the intestine line out. And I finished that meal. It's I am so full still. Like, I can't believe I ate all that food. It was enough food for 3 people, which is why the cost was so much. And the crazy thing is that there was like tables of 2s and 3s around me that didn't finish nearly as much as I did. And I know that because they left before me, and I saw how much food they left, and then I realized how much food I ate. And I think it was one of those things where I just kept putting it in my mouth as quickly as possible to kind of like, it's that like hidden tactic of how you can get as much food in your stomach without realizing it. Like your body can't send the signal fast enough that you're full. And now I'm so uncomfortably full, like it hurts to sit type of deal. But anyhow, yeah, that was my random story. I don't even know what the restaurant's called, but I do have some, the outside of the restaurant. It was on the 2nd floor, like I said. That's why the guy was fishing for customers. All the floors, everywhere was busy there, though. It was so nuts. Like, they were making their money regardless. And it's like, it's that thought right there where it's like, the tents didn't have to kick me out. They could have just fed me, and I would have been in and out probably faster than they would have imagined. So, yeah, it's one of those bummer things about traveling alone, I guess. Sometimes you just can't win. And it just seems to have been one of those times. So, anyhow, the food was great. I'm so happy I got to try it. I totally recommend coming here in a group with at least 2 to 3 people, and heading on out. And we'll see what actually happens tomorrow. I'm actually quite tired today, so I think I'm gonna make a cup of coffee, flip on the TV, probably watch a little bit, see what's and then take a shower and go to bed. Night's not as young as it was just now, but yeah, we'll see you in the next vid.